Hi, I'm Tori Hageman. One of the many problems that I had when I started painting was that I couldn't seem to get good color harmony in my paintings. I didn't know what was wrong and I didn't know how to fix it, and it seemed like the more colors I put on my palette, the worse it got, until I discovered the secret power of the mother color. And I have incorporated that principle into this beautiful farm scene, and it ensured that I got great color harmony. And I'd love to share with you in this quick video how I achieved that. Stay tuned. As I'm looking at my reference photo of this beautiful farm in North Carolina, I'm seeing lots of different blues in the sky. I'm seeing all kinds of different greens in the landscape. And when I first started painting, my inclination was to find a tube of paint that matched each one of the colors that I was seeing and put those on the canvas. But that can lead to a garish looking painting using things right out of the tube, and it just wasn't working. So let me explain about the mother color. You can think of the mother color this way. There's one source, but many children. So in this painting, for example, I chose as my mother color cobalt blue. So I started using cobalt blue and white to put in the sky. For the shadows in the clouds, I use cobalt blue, burnt sienna, and white. So I'm using that mother color a second time. I would change that mixture slightly depending on whether I wanted a shadow to be warmer or cooler by adding more or less blue, more or less burnt sienna, but still the same mother color was always present. Even though cobalt blue is my favorite sky color and I do love a crisp, strong sky, I wanted the farmland to be the focal point of this painting. And so I felt like the sky was a little too strong. So I ended up lightening it considerably, but again, keeping that same mother color of cobalt and just adding more white to adjust. If you'll notice in the very back of this photo reference, there's just the slightest peak of a little mountain range in the back that pops up over the hills every once in a while, and it's in a very pale blue. So you guessed it, again, I use the same mother color, cobalt blue and white, to put in that mountain range. So now we've used it 3 times. If you want your paintings to have a real sense of depth, remember that hills and trees tend to look bluer the further back they are in the painting. So I knew that that first row of hills in front of the mountains needed to have a blue tint. So I've used, once again, cobalt blue, a touch of sap green, and plenty of white. Actually, the hills were too dark at first, which tends to make them come forward. So just by lightening them more with white, they were pushed further back into the painting. Coming forward in the painting, we're now putting in the first row of trees where you actually see the texture of the treetops. I used a flat brush, using the full face of the flat brush and then turning it on its side to get that nice texture at the top. And again, I'm using cobalt blue, sap green, and a little less white. As I come forward in the painting and put in that field, you'll notice for the first time that yellow is being introduced to the green. The closer it is at the front of the painting, the more yellow it can become. You can either use cobalt, the mother color that you're using, and a yellow, which could be a Naples yellow or a cad yellow. I did that in the painting, and I also used sap green with different yellows and a little bit of the cobalt. I let that cobalt drop out more and more as I came forward and let the greens become more and more yellow. The trees at the very front of the field had some really strong shadows in them. So once again, I used cobalt with my sap green. I used a little burnt umber to get them really dark. And in that front tree, I ended up incorporating a little black in with my sap green just to get some things super dark. This last photo is a great example of the bluest mountain in the back, a blue-green hill in the front, then blue-green trees in front of that, and then more yellow-green, and then getting stronger. Lots of layers, great depth perception. Let me also mention this concept of having 2 mother colors. So if you'll recall, I used cobalt blue and burnt sienna in the clouds. I also use burnt sienna as a way to neutralize my greens when they were looking a little too bright. I was also using burnt sienna in the fence and in the grasses and the fields in front. So, really, I had two mother colors. I had two colors that I used over and over and over in this painting that just gave great color harmony. I had a very limited palette, which takes a lot of confusion out, takes a lot of those decisions out, and I was really pleased with the effect of it. I hope you'll give this a try. Hey, if this video has been helpful, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and if you'll subscribe, you'll be sure not to miss the next free video that's coming out soon. Thank you, and God bless.